you know, even without like painting this still looks really cool. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is just a little video I wanted to start a series of my new Flash cosplay that I'm going to be developing for New York Comic Con. Now today I'm going to be breaking down what design I'm actually going for and showing you how I'm going to paint my helmet. So I've decided to go with the design from the first Injustice game, and I absolutely love this design. The armor's quite simple. I say simple, it's not going to be simple to build, but we will get there. And it's one I've enjoyed for years and I've always wanted to try out. I wanted to do something a little bit different from the movies or the TV show. But for now, I've just started with the helmet, and just because I had these rolls of filament anyway, I printed it in the colours that it would actually be, but I like the post-print process with sanding, priming and painting, so I'm going to be doing that regardless anyway. And if you want to know where I got the files for the Flash costume, I got the helmet and the rest of the armour all on DO3D. They do some amazing designs from films, TV show and some other fun comic book designs as well, so check them out if you've got a 3D printer and you love 3D printing. Now I'm not really going to show you how I printed this or what settings I used, just because I used my brother's printer and he helps me out a lot, but there's plenty of videos out there from Frankly Built, Uncle Jesse that you can use and get to grips with how you want to do your 3D prints. Just thought I'd bring the helmet a little bit closer to the camera so you guys can see the detail, and let me just move the wings just about there so you can kind of see how it's going to end up, but hopefully it does look as good as this once it's painted. Now usually what I do for my 3D prints is sand them first, prime them and just rinse repeat until you're happy with the smoothness, and then go for your paint obviously, but I usually start with a low grit just to get rid of all the spare bits and sort of dead bits of material on there, and then you go over with the high grit once you've got a few coats of your primer down. One thing that I think is going to be a little bit tricky with this build is there's no real indication in the print that shows where the wings have to go, so I have to kind of eyeball it and try and get them as symmetrical as possible, but I will more than likely sand the area once everything's painted, or maybe even masking tape that off, just so the glue or epoxy that I do decide to use has something to stick to besides just paint. Now that's pretty much it about the breakdown of my painting process and the costume as a whole, but this video is just a part one and it's just the helmet, and there will be follow-up videos as the coming months go on. New York Comic Con is not till October, so I've got roughly about 3.5 months to get everything done. This is the only thing I've done so far, so no pressure. One thing I've only just realised is that I haven't done a video in this setup for about 7 years. I even remember doing my first cosplay review in here and it was my Flash costume. Back when I had cheekbones. Ugh. I just thought I'd give you a quick look at the helmet and the wings still as a raw print before I do anything to it. Like I said, DO3D really go above and beyond with their files, and once I saw they had this Flash armor, I just knew I had to do it. So here I'm beginning the sanding process, and just a quick breakdown on how to sand a fresh 3D print is you want to go at it with a really low grit first, just to sort of scuff it all up a little bit and get rid of all of that them waste bits that are on a 3D print sometimes, and then once that's done you want to go over with a high grit. I went over the high grit first in a lot of the areas I wanted really smooth, like the faceplate. I say faceplate, just the front of the face, just to hopefully bring out a lot more of the detail on it. You can already see here what sort of a difference in the texture you're looking for when sanding 3D prints and helmets in particular, but you can also see kind of down here how nice and smooth it is just as a raw print. There's some part of me that might just go over that lightly with the high grit and see where we go. Now when you start your priming, you just kind of want to go over lightly with it, and then as the coats go on, you just sort of apply it a little bit more heavier and then sand lightly in between each coat. Now here's the helmet after the first coat of primer, and a lot of it has gone down really well, especially from the cheeks to the sort of bridge of the nose, but you can see areas particularly under the eyes, or above the eyes, sorry, where I've missed, but it's also very chalky and needs a good sanding now. Again, it's just rinse repeat on this process, but this is the process that is most important to getting a nice smooth finish on your prints. But yeah, like I said, I think that the layer lines might actually work really well for this helmet and just this costume as a whole. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. So it's now day 2 of working on the Flash helmet. We've got 2 layers of filler primer on top of the helmet and the wings. The wings are doing good, so I think I'll only give them another coat or 2. Obviously still sanding in between, but with the helmet, I want to mainly give my focus into the crown and the brows, just to sort of get rid of that sort of dusty texture that's sort of building up and just give it a lot of TLC. One thing I also quickly want to mention is that I am going to be changing up my painting process for this helmet. Once the priming is all completely done, I'm going to go over with a gloss black and then a gloss red. I did this with my old Flash helmet and it worked an absolute treat. As for the gold, I will probably give it the black gloss as well and then go over with model paints with the gold. Yeah, I think that will work out best. There's one thing I actually just genuinely didn't think of when priming this. You actually, if you're doing this helmet, don't have to give too much attention to these areas because that's where the wings are going to go. And I might have to sand it all off anyway, so don't go too heavy with the primer. Don't waste your primer in areas that don't need it. That's the tip of the day. I honestly think I'm now at a point with the helmet where I'm happy with the smoothness and ready to start actually, painting it. Like I said, the process for this is going to be, I put down a gloss black coat first, possibly 2 coats just to make sure I get into everything, and the gloss goes down quite thick anyway, so any layer lines that I've missed might get filled in by that. And then after that, very lightly go over with the gloss red. Gloss takes a lot longer to dry than the primers. These are usually touch dry within minutes, and then for about an hour you're good to continue really working with it. It recommends 24 hours, but I don't know, I've had success with shorter waiting times. That is looking clean as anything. Whoa. I'm really happy the way that's come out actually. I think once the red goes on top, it's going to come out really well. Look, you can even see my reflection. It's little things like that that make this all worthwhile. Now that's the second and probably the last coat of black gloss I will put on the helmet. I'll wait and see how it looks after it's dried. But just a quick breakdown on the layers of primer and gloss I used. It was about 5.5 coats of the primer with lots of sanding. I didn't do a wet sand, but I don't think that has stunted this in any way. And then after the sanding, it's 2 coats of gloss and then hopefully 1 or 2 coats of the red gloss. And then we should be done with the painting on the main bulk of the helmet. I've done the same process on the wings, it's just it'll be gold instead of red. Now just a quick little safety message, always do your spray painting and your priming outside in a well ventilated area, or use a respirator, because I don't use a respirator because I'm stupid, but doing your painting out in the garden should just be fine. So I've just put on the gloss red for the Flash helmet and it's come out really well. And I'm hoping it stays this glossy once it dries. I think it will, just because of the 2 layers of black underneath. But wow, that is looking so good. Now I've decided to go over the wings with a model paint as opposed to a spray paint, just because I wanted to do some hand painting on this project, and I think I'll do that for the rest of the costume as well. Okay, it was me thinking this was going to take maybe 2 coats, but that is really strong and it goes on really well and just sticks to the gold gloss like awesome. The wings to the helmet, I've just decided to use a cheap super glue. You know, it dries within seconds and, you know, it does its job. It's really, really good, but it can peel up and melt your paint, as you see later on in the video. It's only been on for a couple seconds and it's already pretty solid, but I can see that there is gaps in just there. So realistically, what I should have done was welded this to the helmet before painting and then done, you know, the gold by hand afterwards. But, you know, if you're making this helmet, I would advise fuse everything and glue it all beforehand and then paint afterwards instead of paint then glue, because, you know, the glue is now sticking to the paint of this and I've got to hope that it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, when I take this to New York, I will be taking a bottle of super glue with me. And now comes the really not so fun task of trying to match this symmetrically. Now this was probably the most stressful part of the build, and I think every single build you'll do you're going to find a stressful piece, but that's okay. You know, it comes with part of the model making and the sort of cosplay side of the hobby. This is probably as good as I'm going to get it, but as you can see here, I've kind of ruined the paint job just a tad because of trying to match everything, and the super glue has just peeled it up and just dissolved it completely. But that could be an easy fix. I could always mask this area off and then just go over it quickly with the red gloss. Just again, I could always maybe try and sand that area as well and just try and get the glue off. But, you know, I think it's doing well for what it is. You know, a lot of the photos aren't going to be head-on that I'll probably take anyway. But at the end of the day, it's just cosplay. You know what, I'm actually really happy with how it's already turning out, particularly with the gloss on both the wings and the main helmet. Yeah, I think this came out pretty good. So yeah guys, that is it on the Flash helmet. This is, I think, a really good base for how to paint your helmet. There's a high chance I could go over it with some burgundy in some of the other areas just to bring out a lot more of the detail, particularly in the sort of like indents over here, just to sort of make it pop just a little bit more. But just in comparison, this is my Flash helmet from the 2023 movie, and I think between the two helmets, it's night and day. You know, I love the design of this. I think that they did really well, and I love the way that the wings lock into the helmet, and I love the paint job that I did. But the fact that this new helmet I'm wearing now for the Injustice cosplay is one solid print, whereas this I printed in pieces. But yeah, I'm really happy with this new helmet, and I cannot wait to start working on the rest of the armor, which I have actually already begun the next piece, which will be in the next video. And here's just a little tease on what's to come. But again, yeah, that's it for this video, guys, and I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope it was really helpful, that if you wanted to do this helmet or for your 3D prints that you're doing for anything else. And again, I will be debuting this cosplay at New York Comic Con in October. This is my, you know, jumper from that got there last time in 2023, and yeah, the reason I'm going back, it was one of the best holidays and con experiences of my life. I think it was the best con I've ever been to. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Feel free to like this video and leave a comment if you liked the helmet, or if you know of any ways I could have done it better. And I will see you in part 2 when I start to make the gauntlets.